100% of the bills that are owed to us. So whether it is parking tickets, whether it is business tax, and that percentage is just unacceptable to us. We will never get 100%, but we can get a better amount that we think will be helpful in the city.
Okay, this next one's from Robert Donham. Is Robert here? Is your daughter Gail? Got a funny story.
Uh-oh.
My first crime was I was 10 or 11 years old. I don't know if you know this or not, but I had a crush on their daughter Gail in elementary school. And I vandalized their house. I carved my name in a heart on their tree. Did you know that? No.
Oh, the mother did. See, mothers know everything.
Isn't that funny? Tell Gail I say hello. That's embarrassing. Sorry, guys. Anyway, this is from Robert. You said that the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power could afford the $75 million that the mayor wanted them to hand over. Did you consider the use of this money to fix the existing water mains? The money came from the fees paid for the money came from the fees from the taxpayers, from the users of water and power.
So each year, and there's been big debate on the transfer of the surplus amount from the Department of Water and Power to the City of Los Angeles. It's been going on for decades, rightly or wrongly. A percentage in lieu of taxing those properties that they own in the City of Los Angeles. And so this last year, as part of the budget, and there'll be something on the ballot that's going to talk about it, that council adopted yesterday, and they're still finalizing it, but which says X% can be transferred to the City of Los Angeles during that year, and can be in lieu of those taxes. Last year it was $220 million. So the budget that the city puts together, the city administrative officer and the mayor, included that $220 million. My issue with the Department of Water and Power was, this was revenue that they had committed, agreed to send over as part of what had been happening over decades, and to suddenly tell us in April or May, we're not sending you this money, even though it was from a prior year, put the city in a tailspin. What occurred is our bond rating went down, the money that we had to borrow in several instances cost more because we were seeing as that $73 million not coming over was a problem for us.
Okay. The next two questions are kind of on the similar, so I'm going to combine them. One's from Ron Ziff and the other is from Jerry Weinerman. I understand that some parking lot operators are in arrears on paying the city taxes, some of the millions of dollars. Is this true, and what can be done to collect? And then Jerry asks, has the city been able to collect the money that has been owed on garage rentals and parking fees and traffic citations? So it's similar, but not 100%.
So I alluded earlier a little bit to prestige parking and the fact that we are going and working very cooperatively with the city attorney, who I saw this evening. I told him I was coming to Soha, and he said to please send his best. He said he was going to try and make it, although he was driving to San Pedro first, so I'm not sure he'll make it. But if anybody can, it's Nooch. So he wanted to send his best. But we're working together to identify those that owe us money. In addition, working with the Office of Finance, and we're doing an audit currently of the Department of Transportation and how they collect those parking fees. I did an audit, you may recall, recently on red light cameras. No one likes red light cameras. But we did an audit of how they were operating, because the Los Angeles Police Department had said to us that in fact it was a program that paid for itself and it reduced traffic accidents in the city of Los Angeles by having those red light cameras. And what we found is that they couldn't prove that it reduced traffic incidences in those. They didn't have the data to do it. Although they did say in one of the intersections, or the six intersections, there had been no fatalities. But what they found out is that they thought, that LAPD assumed that when they wrote a ticket, that if it wasn't paid, that it would go on your registration each year. That didn't happen with those. The judges have to assign it to go onto your registration. And so we were in fact spending $2.5 million a year on the red light camera program. and it wasn't paying for itself. And I said, look, if we think the red light cameras are an important part of how we can prevent accidents, we need the data to prove that it does, then it's worth whatever amount we think it is worth. But we cannot say it is self-sufficient in the way it was doing it. So we have recommended in the past, as a council member now, is to consolidate all of the financial, all of the collections into one area. There are a lot of things the city does well, shocking that they do. There are a lot of things the city does not do well. Collections is not one of them. And so we think that it is important to have it in an area like the Office of Finance, who can be held accountable for the collections and be responsible for those collections.
Okay. Leo asks, how do you fare with the city unions? Ooh.
Well, I think it's a good thing when you can work with people, and I work well with the unions. They know that I'm going to be fair with them, but I'm also going to tell them exactly what I think and what my actions, and I'll give you an example. So last year, when I sent a letter to the city council that said, every day you don't take action on either early retirement or layoffs is $1 million a day. $1 million a day. You need to take action. And the unions called and said, thank you. Thank you. We've been pushing them to make a decision because we know that the budget was dependent upon quick decisions on how we were going to reduce the workforce. There was a recognition that we needed to reduce the workforce. We may have disagreed how much of it was layoffs and how much of it was early retirement, but they were willing to be at the table and wanted action to take place. When I released the positions, as you may recall, we have this little city called Bell, California, that has caused us a lot of trouble and I think a lot of mistrust. And I thought it was important that we put on our website all of the salaries of every position in the city of Los Angeles. It was important. We were one of the first cities to do that. But I called the unions and I said, I just want you to know I'm doing this, and I'm putting it on the website. So please let everyone know, I'm not putting names necessarily because it's about the position, not the person. So I think that I've had a good working relationship with them where we can sit and negotiate and we can agree to disagree sometimes, and we can also work together to solve the problems.
Okay. Bruce Darren asks, are you willing to use the False Claims Act law to recover funds lost due to fraud?
Bruce mentioned to me that just before I got up here, and he gave me the actual code section. I was very impressed with the numbers, so I'm going to check on that. He said the federal and state, Bruce is right here, I was looking for the back. The federal and state uses that. I think as he described it was the fact that you can, if a whistleblower calls, they get a percentage potentially of the money that you're able to reclaim, and two, you could go after the violator, I guess, and get 3 times, is that what you told me? So I was listening, 3 times. And then 50% would go to the whistleblower. So I'm going to look into that here in Los Angeles.
Great. Charles asks, do you believe there is any merit in selling the Department of Water and Power to private enterprise?
No. I guess my initial reaction is no, unless you could tell me that it was going to provide us, giving away our assets was a good way. I mean, it's kind of one of the things that you, once you give it away, once you sell it, you can never get it back. There are, I remember times, I don't know some of you in this room, where we had a Department of Water and Power where the water and the power were reasonable rates, dependable. We didn't have the kind of breakages that we've had here in infrastructure in Los Angeles. But it's important to look at how they're operating. But I'm not sure selling our assets and DWP being an asset would be the right thing to do. I think it is more important to ensure that we hold them accountable. One of the audits that I'm doing right now is on the renewable portfolio standard of the Department of Water and Power, looking at how they're spending their money. And I think that's an important role that the city controller can take to ensure that they're held accountable.
Thank you. I have a couple of other non-controller questions I'll ask as long as Richard doesn't give me the hook. The first one's from Claudia Katz. Why is California going down the tubes?
Do you have all night? I don't know. But look, I think some of the same challenges that we face it exist in the state of California. Clearly, the economy has had an impact on us. I mean, this is the worst economy since the Great Depression. where we have lost millions of dollars based on stock market and some of the other things. I think the other is that the state of California also didn't look at having that rainy day fund and the costs associated with it. And the state of California continues to have every single day bad news. I like to say that the federal government can print money, the state government can steal our money, and the city of LA has to actually balance our budget. And so I think that we have a unique opportunity, I believe now, to address some of the structural changes that are necessary in the state of California. I do also believe that we have to look at not always ballot box balancing the budget. That we have to hold our legislators accountable to say, we elected you to balance the budget and we need you to do that.
Okay, and do I have one more question, Richard?
Sure do.
Okay, and this one's, Jules will like this one. It's from Margie Barron. I love this one too. What about graffiti? It's costly, but she's not talking about regular graffiti. She means political graffiti. When the politicians put up their names and those billboards all over public parks and posts and all that. And it's after they lose, when some of them, when they win, the signage stays up. How can we get the do nothing city hall folks to stop this? I like that.
And I agree with you, and I would say I had my own experience, and I've told the story so I can do it on camera again. When I first ran for office, I had a Saturday, all my friends, high school friends, college friends came to, start precinct walking for me. And they all took signs. And that night, I was driving, going different places, and I saw some signs on poles, and I was like, oh my God, they put them on poles. And I got this message, so someone who remained nameless, who left a message on my DreamWorks, because I was working at DreamWorks at the time, and I checked my messages, and it said, I will never vote for you, you put up illegal signs, and if you don't take them down, I'm reporting you to the city tomorrow. So of course, I'm like, oh my God, I went back to the office, and I called any volunteers that were there, and we took down every one of those that was on a pole. And this person ended up calling me the next day, sending me money, supporting me, said you actually did what you were supposed to do, which was take them down. It is illegal to put signs in public places that you do not have the permission. Any public pole, any public park, it is illegal. And so we ask you to report that, and they do go after them and find them. It is more difficult now with less people in the city, but I agree, I still see signs from the May or June, and clearly from a couple months ago. So we should hold them accountable, and you can too by telling them, calling those people and saying, look, the campaign's over, take them out of our neighborhoods, but please report them, and it is important.
Okay, before we break, and at that time we'll ask everyone to clean the tables and also to come up and ask you individual questions. We want to thank you, but more importantly, we have a raffle. Jules, do we have a raffle tonight? We want you to pick the winning tickets.
Okay.